Good morning, everyone. So, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, uh, in the last lecture, I was in a bit of a hurry. So, I told you how to calculate. I gave you an example to calculate uh, the residues of a function at the singular point. So, I hope you have understood that example. Today, what we shall start with is I would just like to remind you
নিশ্চয়ই
that
10টা স্যার
okay, so I would just like to remind you that uh, about the things that we have discussed so far. So, what we have discussed so far is the following. We have discussed what singular points are and what isolated singularities are. So, isolated singularities mean that if you take a delta neighborhood about that isolated singularity, then the function is analytic at all those points. So that is what an isolated singularity is. And if you have an isolated singularity, then the function of isolated singularity of this function of the complex variable z, then you can expand the function around that isolated singularity by an expansion of this form. So you have an expansion of this form around this. So z0 is the isolated singularity of this function f of z. And if you have such an isolated singularity, then you have an expansion of this function of this form in the annulus So this is what we mean by an isolated singularity. So you have an expansion. So what you do is just you take the point out. So this is basically nothing but the punctured disk around the point z0. So this is the set of all points such that 0 is less than z minus z0 less than r. So this expansion is valid in this region, and this expansion is called the LoRa series expansion. So what we shall do today is look at the Taylor series expansion, which I am sure some of you must be familiar with. So Taylor series, we shall discuss today Taylor series expansion. And you must be knowing, or I have also mentioned in this course that if the function is analytic everywhere, then it admits a Taylor series expansion. So by analytic, we mean that the function is, you can differentiate the function, and also we have seen that by analyticity of a function of a complex variable, the Cauchy-Riemann conditions are very essential. They must hold. So you have what we shall discuss today is Taylor series expansion. But before that, before discussing the Taylor series expansion of the function of a complex variable, I shall discuss it in the context of a function of a real variable first. And I shall give you a very heuristic derivation of this Taylor series expansion. So let us consider a function of a real variable. This x is a real variable now. And suppose this function can be expanded in a power series expansion. In a power series. So, since it can be expanded in a power series, in some region, so there is some radius of convergence for this expansion, for this power series. So, if this power series is valid for this function of a real variable, then from this expansion, you can immediately see that y at 0, you just set x is equal to 0 here, then all these terms will fall off and you will get y at 0 is a0. And we keep on doing this thing. Let us differentiate the function. where y prime x is basically dy dx. So if you differentiate this, we will get a1 plus this will be 2 a2x. Then the next term is a3x cube. So if you differentiate that term, we will get 3a3x square and so on. So this is what we shall have. Now you evaluate this derivative of y with respect to x at x is equal to 0. So if you do that, you will get a1. Because all these terms will follow. Let us now start from here and differentiate once again. So if you differentiate y double prime x, we get 2a2 plus this will give me a 6 a3 x and so on. Again evaluate this at x is equal to 0, we will get 2a2. Okay. Once again, let us differentiate this y triple prime x. So this will be 0. This will give me 6a3 and higher powers of x. Therefore, y triple prime evaluated at x is equal to 0 is 6a3. Okay. And you can see from here that y double prime, you can write this as 2 factorial a2, and this is 3 factorial a3. Okay. So now what we shall do is, this side I think is not visible, so let me remain in this region. So I mentioned to you that there is a radius of convergence, right? So you can understand this radius of convergence in this rough sense, that this expansion is valid from here to here, because outside that the board is not visible. So this is the radius of convergence. This is on a lighter note. So this is how you can understand the radius of convergence of a function. It basically means that there is a particular, if you expand the function around some point, then there is some radius. So there is some circular region of radius r within which the expansion is valid. That is what we mean by a radius of convergence. Now from here, the things that we have worked out so far, you can immediately see that a2 is 1 by 2 factorial y double prime 0. a3 is 1 by 3 factorial and so on. And this, and in this way it goes on, and therefore now you can write down the function y of x. You know that the first term a0 is nothing but y at 0 plus what is a1? a1 is y prime 0, but a1 is multiplied by x. The next term is a2x square. So what is a2? a2 is 1 by 2 factorial y double prime x square. The next term is a3x cube, but a3 is 1 by 3 factorial and so on. Okay. So this is how you can write down the power series for y of x. And now you can write this in a compact form. Therefore, y of x can be written down as summation n is equal to 0 to infinity y of 0, so the first term is n is equal to 0, so y of 0 is nothing but y0. This is how you define yn, y0 on top with a rounded bracket and 0 evaluated at 0, that is y0. What is y1 of 0? y1 of 0 is nothing but y prime. y2 of 0 is y double prime, and so on. So you can see that you can expand, you can write down this y of x, this function of a real variable x, this way, in terms of the derivatives evaluated at 0. So this is basically, so you remember that the power series expansion of that function, you can write it down. It is basically an expansion of the function around the point x is equal to 0. And you can write it down in this way. This is nothing but, this is basically the Taylor series expansion, or you can also call it the Maclaurin series. So this is the Maclaurin series expansion of this of the function of a real variable, and this you can generalize it to a function of a complex variable like f of z. We shall actually derive this later on. We shall derive these things later on in a more rigorous way, but I'm just showing you for the timing. I'm showing these things in a heuristic way. So now, so when this function is a function of a real variable, this is called a Maclaurin series, or since Maclaurin was the first to discover this, so this is the Maclaurin series, and you can actually generalize it to a function of a complex variable, and the generalization is written in this following way. Summation n is equal to 0 to infinity f n z naught by n factorial z minus z naught. So this is the Taylor series expansion of the function of a complex variable around the point z is equal to z naught. And when is this expansion valid? This expansion is valid when the function is analytic at the point z naught. So if the function is regular or that is analytic at the point z is equal to z naught, then you can expand the function around that point z naught this following way. This is the Taylor series expansion of the function. So we have seen two kinds of expansions. One is the Taylor series expansion. In case of a function of a real variable, if you expand it around x is equal to 0, then this is called the Maclaurin series. If you can also expand it around any arbitrary point which is not equal to 0. So in that case, this thing will again get. So suppose you want to expand it around x is equal to x naught, and this point is and the function is differentiable at this point, then only it will admit a Taylor series expansion. Then everything will remain the same. Only thing that you will have is x minus x naught to the power of n. This will become x naught, and that's it. So you can see that this thing is exactly similar to the one that I've written on the left side of the board, and that this thing holds. This thing is the Taylor series expansion for the function of a complex variable. The variable is complex now. So in this case, this is also called Taylor series expansion because this point is not equal to 0. But if this point is equal to 0, then this is called the Maclaurin series expansion for a function of a complex real variable. We shall prove this later, but for the time being, what we shall do is look at examples. We shall see how you can expand any function of a complex variable, or for that matter, any function of a real variable also in a Taylor series expansion. So let us take a very simple example. I'm sure all of you know how to expand this function e to the power of z in a power series. You must be knowing it, but let me apply this Taylor series expansion theorem and let me expand that function. So what is the formula? I want to expand it around, see, this function is analytic at all points. There are no singular points of this function. Let me expand this function in a Taylor series expansion, in a Taylor series around the point z is equal to 0. At z is equal to 0, this function is perfectly analytic and it is analytic at all other points. So let me take z is equal to 0. So if z is equal to 0, then what will be the Taylor series expansion? This will become 0. This will become z to the power of n, and that's it. So you have to evaluate these fn zeros that you have. So what is f0? f0 is e to the power of 0, that is 1. What is f prime of z? F prime of z is e to the power of z. To differentiate e to the power of z, and therefore this implies f prime 0 is also 1. What is f double prime z? The power of z once again. This implies is also 1. And you can keep on doing this thing. Each time you differentiate, you will get back fn e to the power of z. So ultimately, if you have fnz, this will once again be e to the power of z. And when you evaluate this at 0, this will be 1. So what is the Taylor series expansion of e to the power of z? So f of z summation n is equal to 0 to infinity. What is fn0? fn0 is 1. So 1 by n factorial z to the power of n. And this is, you know, this is the familiar expansion of an exponential function, right? You can expand it in this way. It is z to the power of n by n factorial summation from n is equal to 0 to infinity. And you can expand it now. You can expand this summation. If you do that, the first term is 0 factorial z to the power of 0. So that is 1. The next term is z. The next term is z square by factorial and so on. So this is the expansion, the Taylor series expansion of the function e to the power of z. Is this clear? Are you okay with this? With this? Good.
Yes, sir.
So now let us work out another example. And what I would suggest to you is that you open any book on mathematical methods, whatever book you have at home, you just take that book and try to solve the problems that you have there in that book. So the more examples you solve, you will get more familiar with these concepts. So let us take another function now. Let us take f of z is equal to sine z. And let us expand it. We already know that this has a, you know the expansion of sine z, right? Sine x, you know, expansion. But let us now do it and see what we get. What is f of 0? Is 0. What is f prime z? It is cosine of z, which implies f prime of 0 is 1. What is f double prime z? This is minus sine z. This implies f double prime 0 is 0. F triple prime z is minus cos z, implies f triple prime 0 is minus 1. And you can do it, you can go on doing this. And if you do it, keep on doing this, then So this is our example 2. So you can keep on doing this, and ultimately you will get sine z, which is our function. So the first term, this f of 0 is 0. The next term, so let me just write it down, write the expansion. It is f prime 0 is 1. So that will give us 1 divided by 1 factorial into z. F double prime 0 is 0. If triple prime 0 is minus 1, so that will give us minus 1 by 3 factorial z cube. And you can keep on doing this. So this gives us z minus z cube by 3 factorial. And if you keep on doing this, you can see that the next term will be z to the power of 5 by 5 factorial. So this is the expansion of the function sine of z. So this is example 2. As an exercise, you can try this out. Cosine of z at home. You can also try you can take any function, any transcendental function, and try to expand it. So please do this at home. I leave it as an exercise for you to do. Let us take another example. F of z is equal to z square sine of z. Or sorry, you can do this. It's not a problem. But let me do this sine z square. Okay, z sine z square. So let us do this problem. You can see that this will admit a Taylor series expansion around z is equal to 0. There is no problem. It is perfectly fine. So once again, evaluate what f of 0 is. F of 0 is 0. Now let us differentiate this. If prime z is the first term, so if you differentiate this, you will get sine z square plus z into 2z cos z square. That is basically sine z square plus 2z square cosine of z square. What is f prime 0? Then this is 0, this is 0. So f prime 0 is also 0. Let us evaluate f double prime z. F double prime z is 2z cos z square plus 4z cos z square, and then we will have minus 2, so 4 z cube sine z square. So what is f double prime 0? This is 0, this is 0, this is 0. It's once again 0. So you have to keep on doing this. What is f triple prime z? So this will give us 2 cos z square, and then we will have minus 2 cos z square. Now this will give us 4 z square sine of z square, plus this will give us 4 cosine of z square minus 8 z square sine of z square minus so on. So this term will be of order z, right? This will be of order, this will be some function of z, not order z, it will be order z square and so on. So this will be some function of z. I am not writing it down because you don't need it. Because what I need is, I need to evaluate this at 0. So when I evaluate it at z is equal to 0, this term will be 0. This will give me 2, this will be 0, this will give me 4, and this will be 0. So f triple prime 0 is 6. Okay? So now it is simple. You can just expand it, and you have to keep on, in order to calculate the higher derivatives evaluated at z is equal to 0, you obviously need this term, because you have to keep on differentiating with respect to z. But let me just write down the first term in the expansion from this procedure. So what shall we get from here? The first term is z sine z square. You remember that f0 is 0, f prime is 0, f double prime is 0. So all those terms are gone. So the expansion starts from f triple prime 0. F triple prime means it should be divided by a 3 factorial, and then you will have z cube, and then the higher order terms. But what is f triple prime 0? That is 6. 6 divided by 3 factorial is 1. Therefore, the series starts from z cube. Okay. So this is the Taylor series expansion of this function around z is equal to 0. And you can carry out this procedure, and you will get the higher order terms. Let us expand this in a different way. You know what is the expansion of sine of z, right? We have already expanded the function sine of z. So sine of z is basically this thing, this expansion. So what will be the expansion of sine of z square? You just replace each of the z's by z square. So if you do that, so the first term is z square, you replace z by z square. The next term will be z square to the power of 3. So it is cubed by 3 factorial, and so on. This will be z cubed minus z6, so this will be z7. So this is the expansion. So you see that the leading order term that we have calculated from here, from the Taylor series expansion, exactly matches with this. And if you keep on doing this procedure, you can actually check that the next term, if you calculate it, is z7 by 3 factorial with a minus sign in front. Please check it. Okay. Is this clear to you? Are you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. So now with this example, we can now formulate a definition. And what is the definition? We have given the definition of a pole of order k, but now we can give a definition of a zero of order k. When is a function f of z, a function of a complex variable, is said to have a zero of order k. Look at this example that we have discussed just now. Z sine z square. Okay, this is an analytic function. You can check. I leave it as an exercise for you to check please check that for this function the Cauchy-Riemann conditions are valid. Please check it yourself. You can do that. Okay? So that is not a very difficult thing to check. You can check that everything is fine. So it is differentiable at all points. It has no singularities. And the fact that it has no singularities, therefore you can say that it admits a Taylor series expansion around all the points. Here we have made a Taylor series expansion of this function around z is equal to 0. But now, if you notice carefully, what we have seen for this function is f of 0 was 0, f prime 0 is 0, f double prime 0 is 0, and it is only f triple prime of 0 which is non-zero, and so on. So the first three things are 0. So this function z sine z square is said to have a 0 because the function is 0, the derivative is 0, and so this function is said to have a 0 of order 3. Why? Because the function itself is 0 at the point, the first derivative is 0 at the point, second derivative is 0 at the point. So what is the definition that we can formulate? A function, obviously we are discussing here by functions, these are functions of complex variables. A function f of z is said to have a 0 of order k if fn is said to have a 0 of order k at z naught, say at any arbitrary point z naught, if and only if. So this if and this I ff, this is if and only if fn z naught is 0 for n is equal to 0, 1, 2, k minus 1, and fn is, let me write it in this way, and if is z naught is not equal to 0. So you can see that from this definition, the 0 of a function is said to have a 0 of order k at this point if and only if this is 0 for all n from 0 to k minus 1, and if k z naught is not equal to 0. Therefore, you can say that this function has a 0 of order 3. Because just match it with this definition, first, second, third, it is 0. And from if third, first ones, the first derivative, second derivative is 0. And from the third one, so k is equal to 3 is non-zero. So this function, this particular function is said to have a 0 of order 3. If a function has a 0 of order 1, which means that only this one is 0, only the first one, f of under bracket 0 n is equal to 0, z naught is equal to 0. If the function has a single 0, that is a 0 of order 1, then that 0 is said to be a simple 0. Just like if a function has a pole of order 1, it is a simple pole. If a function has a 0 of order 1, then it is a simple 0. Okay. So we have seen what the Taylor series expansion of a function, of an analytic function is. We shall now introduce another concept, and that is the concept of a removable singularity. The concept of a removable singularity. So please recall, what are the types of singularities that we have learned so far? Isolated singularity, not an isolated singularity, essential singularity, right? These are the three types of singularities that we have learned so far. For an isolated singularity, it basically admits a Laura series expansion around that isolated singularity in some region, in some punctured disk. Basically, the punctured disk means that you have taken that singular point out, that isolated singular point out. Then we have learned what is not an isolated singularity. So the example is log of z. So at z is equal to 0, it is a singular point for log of z, but that z is equal to 0 is not an isolated singularity, because if you take a epsilon neighborhood, then the function is not analytic at all the points in the neighborhood of that singularity. So it is not an isolated singularity. Then we have learned what is an essential singularity. Also, we have learned a pole singularity, a function having a pole of order k. It basically means that you have a Laura series expansion, and all the coefficients from the, if you go to the left side of the expansion, you know what I mean. So all those coefficients vanish. Then that function is said to have a pole of order k. If the pole is of order 1, then it is a simple pole. And then we have learned what is an essential singularity. An essential singularity basically means that all the negative powers of z, or z minus z naught in the Laura series expansion, all of them, or infinite number of them, actually are non-zero. Then that singularity is an essential singularity. Now we shall learn what is a removable singularity. So once again, you can formulate the definition in this way. Let f have an isolated singularity around at z naught with Laura series expansion. You write down the Laura series expansion. So it has an isolated singularity. So this is the Laura series expansion of this function at around the point z is equal to z naught, and it is valid for all the points in this annulus. So it is valid in this region. And now, if Cn is equal to 0 for n is equal to -1, -2, -3, and so on, then f is said to have, then f is said to have removable singularity at z naught. So it has a singularity at z naught, and therefore it admits a Laura series expansion in this region, in this open annulus or punctured disk. If Cn is equal to 0 for n is equal to all this, so all the negative coefficients are vanishing, then f is said to have a removable singularity. If you can do it, or if the function has this property, then this function is said to have a removable singularity at z naught. Let's see what do I mean by that. Because on the other hand, on one hand, I'm saying that this function has a singularity at z is equal to z naught, and on another hand, we are saying that c minus 1, c minus 2. So there are no powers in the denominator of z minus z naught, no powers of z minus z naught in the denominator. So how can the function have a singularity? So let's understand this definition of a removable singularity with an example. So this is something very important in mathematics. You should always remember that when you try to learn pure mathematics, it will involve definitions and it will involve axioms. Some axioms and definitions, and what one does is that if you have certain set of axioms, then what are the consequences of those axioms? This is the strategy that is followed in pure mathematics. But it turns out many times that the definitions, although they have been formulated in a very, people have thought about those definitions for a long time in order to write those definitions in the first place. But sometimes it may so happen that you are not comfortable with certain definitions. When we are not comfortable with certain definitions, it is always better to understand such definitions with examples. This is another strategy that you should always follow in pure mathematics. You should always understand certain definitions by examples. Then the definitions will become clear. Okay. So let us take an example now. F of z is equal to sine of z by z. So this is very familiar to you. This function is very familiar. See, this function is not defined at z is equal to 0, right? Limit of this function at z tending to 0 is 1. But per se, this function is not really defined at z is equal to 0. There is a problem with this function. Because you can expand this function, sine of z, you can expand it. This will give us z minus z cube by 3 factorial plus z5 by 5 factorial and so on. We have seen that sine of z is perfectly analytic. So you can expand it around z is equal to 0. But you have a 1 by z downstairs. So 1 by z and z, this will cancel. So that is why you say that in the limiting case, z tending to 0, the f of 0 is 1. Because you see here we are dividing by 0, dividing by z. But division by z is only possible when z is not equal to 0. If z is equal to 0, then division by z is undefined because z is in the downstairs. So what we do, we first divide it and then take the limit z tending to 0, right? So here what we shall get is this plus z4 by 4 factorial minus 1. But this f of z, this thing is valid for mod z greater than 0. The expansion of this function in this way is valid because at z is equal to 0, it is not really true. This expansion is not really true because you cannot divide by z is equal to 0. So the function is really undefined at z is equal to 0. And this expansion is, see, you have a Taylor series expansion, nice, or Laura series expansion, so to say, nice Laura series expansion for in this region for mod z greater than 0. And since this is a Laura series expansion, you can already see that all the negative powers, Cn is equal to 0 for all the negative powers, right? All those powers are, all the coefficients of all those powers are 0. So this thing is perfectly okay with this definition. So it admits this function admits a Laura series expansion in this region. And it has a singularity, isolated singularity. This is an isolated singularity, obviously, because the function is perfectly analytic at all other points excepting the point z is equal to 0. Now the question is that whether this singularity is a removable singularity or not. See, the criteria is satisfied because all these coefficients Cn is equal to 0 for all the negative powers of z. So that criteria is satisfied. So what we can do is we can define the function f of 0 to be equal to 1. So what we are doing is we are saying that this has a singularity at z is equal to 0, but you can remove that singularity by defining the function in a clever way. How do you define the function? You define it, you say that the function f of z is sine z by z for mod z greater than 0 and it is equal to 1 for z is equal to 0. See, now if you define the function in this way, this function is completely analytic at all points in the complex plane. So that is why this point z is equal to 0 is called a removable singularity. So initially the function it had a singularity because f of z is sine of z by z for all z, and therefore it is clear that the z is equal to 0 point, the function is undefined at that point. But you can define the function in a clever way, in this way, and now you have removed the singularity. So this is an example of a function which has a removable singularity at z is equal to 0. Let us take another example. Let us take the example of a function g of z one minus cos z by z square. Once again, you can see that since z is in the downstairs, there is a problem. The function is undefined at z is equal to 0. So it has an isolated singularity. Z is equal to 0 is an isolated singularity. Right? Let's see whether this isolated singularity is removable or it is an essential singularity or whatever. So g of z, you can write this down as, by the way, I have given cos z. This cos z is an analytic function and I have left it as an exercise for you to expand it. Please do it at home. So if you do it, you will see the expansion of cos z is 1 minus z square by 2 factorial plus. So I am giving you the answer now. Please check it. Expand it. Now this 1 and this 1 cancels, and therefore you have 1 by z square by 2 factorial minus z4 by 4 factorial and so on. And now you see that you can divide by z, numerator and denominator, you can divide by z square, provided z is not equal to 0. You should remember this. And therefore what you get is 1 by 2 factorial minus z square by 4 factorial and so on. This function is completely fine. This has a nice expansion, but this expansion is valid for z not z greater than 0. At z is equal to 0, it is not really valid. In fact, if you take the limit of this function, you can take the limit of this function at z is equal to 0, and you can see that the limit of this function at z is equal to 0 is half. So for z, mod z greater than 0, this is the expansion, and you see that there are no powers of z in the denominator. So all the cn's for all the negative n's, the negative integers, they are 0. So in the Laura series expansion, all the c minus n's coefficients, where n is obviously, if I say c minus n, therefore I mean that n is equal to 1, 2, 3, and so on. All those powers are, all those coefficients are 0. So what? So is z is equal to 0 a removable singularity? Yes. What you can do? You can define the function as a g of 0 as half and z is equal to 0. So if you define g of 0, so when g of 0, all these terms are 0, so you define g of 0 to be 1 by 2, half. So if you define the function in this way, then the isolated singularity at z is equal to 0 is removable. Is it clear? Is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you should just keep in mind that we have learned what is a singularity, what is a pole of order k, what are the types of singularities. For example, an isolated singularity, not an isolated singularity, essential singularity, removable singularity. We have also learned what residues are. We have learned what Taylor series expansion is, what Laura series expansion is. And we have also learned about the conditions for a function to be analytic, and these are the Cauchy-Riemann conditions. Okay. Good. Now, I I have given you methods to calculate the residue of a function at a singular point. I have given you the general formula for that. But I shall give you another way of calculating the residue of a function. Let us take the function f of z is equal to e to the power of 2 by z. Okay. Just expand. You know the expansion of a function e to the power of z, you know. We have done it today. So if you use that, what you will get is 1 plus this plus 4 by z square by 2 factorial, or you can write this down as okay. So this is the Laura series expansion of this function. This is another example. Example to calculate residues. This is a Laura series expansion. What kind of a singularity is this? It has a singularity at z is equal to 0. And what kind of a singularity it is? Can you tell me? In what category will it fall?
Non-removable.
Not only non-removable. See, non-removable is yes, it is obviously non-removable. You are correct. But this is an essential singularity. So see all the powers in the denominator. There are infinitely many powers in the denominator that are present in the Laura series expansion. Therefore, this is an essential singularity. This is not a pole of order k or a simple pole or whatever. This is an essential singularity because infinitely many negative powers of z exists. But can you calculate the residue of this function at z is equal to 0? The answer is yes. It is very simple to calculate. It is just a minus 1 or c minus 1. And what is c minus 1? It is a coefficient of 1 by z. It's 2. So you can do it in this way. You can expand it in a power series. You expand it in a Laura series, and you just read out the coefficient. This is another way to calculate the residues, because the residue is by definition. It is by definition. You remember it that it is by definition the coefficient of the first power of z in the denominator, or z minus z not in the denominator. So if I ask you in the examination, I shall give you some function of a complex variable, and I tell you that find out the singularities of the function and what is the type of singularity. If I ask you this question, you should be able to first of all find out the singularities. By finding out the singularities, it basically means that you just take the function and find the poles of the function, the points where the denominator is equal to 0. Those are the singularities of the function. And then what you do, you just take each of the singularities and you have to put it in a category, whether it is an isolated singularity, not an isolated singularity, essential singularity, or removable singularity. That is what you have to find. If you remember in the previous class, we had done an example 3 divided by, this was the example that we discussed in the previous lecture. So I gave you a function of this form, 2, let me just check, 2z plus z square minus z cube, and we found out the pole structure of this function, and the answer was z 1 plus z 2 minus z. So we just factorized this and we got this, and you can see at what are the points of z in the complex plane at which the function has singularities. It is obviously at z is equal to 0, because at z is equal to 0 the function diverges. When 1 plus z is equal to 0, that is z is equal to -1, function diverges. When 2 minus z is equal to 0, that is z is equal to 2, the function diverges. So these are the poles of the function. What kind of a pole? Is a simple poles. Okay, and are the singularities isolated or not isolated? These are isolated singularities, because you take any neighborhood of that around that singularity, the function is analytic there. Therefore, this is an isolated singularity. If it is an isolated singularity, then it will admit Laura series expansion. The function will admit Laura series expansion. Let us expand this function in a Laura series around this punctured disk. So I'm taking out this point 0 out. So this is basically the same as the annulus. This, which is nothing but the set of points z such that so the problem that we are going to solve is we are trying to find out. So see, there are 3 singularities. So there will be actually 3 Laura series expansions in 3 different regions. Okay. Let us find out the Laura series expansion of this function g of z in this region. So what it basically means is that you are so this is your complex plane, and this is z is equal to 0. This point is z is equal to 0. There is another singularity at z is equal to 2. So this is 1, this is 2, this is -1. So there is a singularity at this point, there is a singularity at this point. So what we are now trying to do is we are taking this region. Mod z is obviously greater than 0 because this point is a singularity. So you have to take out that point. And mod z is also less than 1. So you are in this region. You are in this region. And it is in this region that you want to find out the, obviously the boundary is not included because this is less than 1. And you have taken out this point. So this is a punctured disk. So you want to find out the expansion of this function in this region. How will you do it? It's quite simple. It's not difficult at all. So this is basically the example of finding out the Laura series expansion. So g of z is 1 by z. This is 1 plus z to the power of -1. And this, you can write it in the following way. You can take a factor of 2 outside, then this will give us 1 minus z by 2 to the power of -1. See, since I want to find out the expansion of the function for mod z less than 1, therefore this you can expand. Because you know the binomial expansion 1 plus x to the power of n, can expand it in a power series, in a binomial expansion by using the binomial theorem. If mod of x is less than 1, then only the expansion is valid. So here, since mod z is less than 1 in this region, therefore you can expand this 1 plus z whole to the power of -1, you can expand it, and this will be 1 by z, 1 minus z plus z square minus z cube. This is done. You have a 2, so you keep the 2 outside. Since mod z is less than 1, therefore z by 2 is also less than 1. So you can expand this. So this will be time multiplied by 1 plus z by 2 and you keep on expanding it. I'm not writing down the next term. You can write down the next term and see what happens. And then you simply multiply these two series and you keep terms up to order Z, say. So if you can see that, you can check it for yourself, that if you multiply these two things and keep terms up to order Z, then the final answer will be 3 by 2Z minus 3 by 4 plus 9 by 8Z. So this is the expansion of this function in this annulus. Obviously, this point is not included. This point is not included. So this is basically the Laurent series expansion of this function in this region. We will do some more examples of Laurent series expansion in our next discussion. So for today, we shall stop here. Please go through the material that I have discussed today in this lecture. And if you have any questions, you can ask me at this point. Are you okay with it? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we stop here for today. Thank you very much. We shall meet on Wednesday at the same time.